technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Hopefully, everyone can hear us. I am in the same room here with Adrian and Jason, and we are showing off one of the new features since last month, which is the ability to generate a new procedural world based on a random seed.
Yeah, and one thing that we were mentioning is that we are not super sold on this terrain generator yet. Takes a while, and Jason has one that he likes more, so we'll probably switch over to that soon. But there is a lot of stuff to figure out in terms of generating a terrain that we got.
So, Jason, what do you usually look for in a terrain generation?
Long walks
tool?
on the beach.
Long walks on the beach. Aside from that.
Well, the big thing we want is for it to feel realistic. We also have more to think about than just like... We have a lot to think about because we have to think about how water flows down things. So there also needs to be, flat places to run and tall mountains to climb, but have it not be so crazy that you're always running up a mountain or only on a flat plane. So there has to be a little bit of variety.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing right now, like this is not the terrains that we'll be generating in the game. But we did like these terrains because they give us some really cool mountains, and that gives the water really cool things to do. Creates natural rivers and things like that.
So that river looks awesome.
Waterfalls there. I'm like holding back from rewriting the water shader because it's a fairly big project, but we really want to do it, and we're just holding back from like getting stuck into that hole. But
yeah, the water we know the water just looks like a gray goo right now, but we will get to the water. It has to work before it can look pretty. So it is working now, and we're gonna keep smoothing it out until it looks great. But we've got a lot of other fish to fry also. So
cool. Now I know last time you showed off the first kind of prototype of fire.
Yeah.
And it didn't do much. I think it could catch the grass on fire, which was pretty cool, and it would kill the grass. But I think it's doing a little bit more now.
It's not doing too much more yet. I spent a little bit of time on it, and then we switched over to some other stuff. But I can show it interacting with water some. Here, we can bring back heat. And we can evaporate the water wherever we add heat. And if we start a fire, it might actually get pretty crazy. This is not.
Oh man.
This computer isn't. We're running the streaming on a computer that's having a little bit of trouble streaming and running the game at the same time in the editor. So it's running a little bit slowly, but you can see that the fire spread and it stopped where the water was, but it did evaporate some of the water before doing so.
Oh, awesome.
So if we come over here, we can actually
Oh,
a hole in
that
the water and kind of split it right there.
Because it's actually evaporating the water as it burns.
Yeah, so
and if you notice, it's cloudy.
Yeah, we can start doing this and create some crazy stuff. There's some more to optimize here.
And wait, so look up?
Look up.
Yeah.
Oh, so it actually...
It's actually raining now, too.
So why is it raining now? What happened there?
So we evaporated enough water that would start raining. That would naturally happen. Actually, we are pretty far up north, so that wouldn't have happened. It would have taken a while for that to happen naturally. But since we used the fire to evaporate it, it added more humidity to the region, and eventually that created a cloud that then started raining.
Now, I also noticed the colors feel... Maybe this is just my imagination, but colors feel more vibrant here. Is it?
Yeah, we switched over to a different type of rendering in Unity, which has actually caused us quite a bit of trouble. But it allows us to do cooler stuff. Jason
Makes the game look better.
Yeah,
it basically just makes the light look better when it hits objects. So it just makes the whole world feel a little more consistent. We've sort of what you're seeing now. We're kind of like messing around with different color filters over the camera and things like that. But in general, we switched the color space of the entire game, so we just get better results from our lights and stuff, more control over everything, and so we're happy with it. We think it will people will like it. It'll make the game look a lot better in the end.
Yeah.
So here we have a perfectly clear night sky. Can we do a test again where we evaporate some water? I want to see if we can actually control the weather just with the fire and water magic. That's pretty sweet.
It's kind of hard to see clouds at night.
Okay, so you're adding some water there. That's awesome. And then adding some fire under the water.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to
Kind of
see, but
heating
you
up
can
the
Oh,
air.
sweet,
evaporate
sweet.
a lot of the water.
Oh, and there are clouds in the sky now.
Yeah,
Those
so
were
we
not
look at-
there before.
There's
That is
some
awesome.
clouds forming. If we add some more water, let's see that more clouds should form if I can look up.
And this is magic fire, essentially, right? It's like
Yeah,
the
so
spell
that-
is continuing to keep it
It's-
burning.
Yeah, that's why it's not completely going out. That's why it keeps adding more and more. So that
Oh,
It's
so you
getting
can
pretty
barely
filled
see the
up.
stars now. That's
Uh,
awesome.
let me do a little bit.
I love the fire under the water. That's awesome.
There's some rendering issues in there.
And now it's raining though. This-
Yeah, it is raining now. So
Oh,
so you
that
can
is
get
super
it to
cool.
rain. I have to optimize the rendering of the fire. It's not optimized very much, and
It's just
doing the
rendering.
streaming in editor is not working out too well. And also the fire is spreading like crazy all across this landscape.
Oh, you've done it now.
Oh my gosh. So this is kind of cool. We can shoot some water over there and turn off some of that and kind of chill out some of this heat.
So that's regular fire, so it'll actually just get kind of put out by
Yeah,
the water.
they interact with each other, so
They cancel each other
they
out.
cancel each other out.
Yeah.
So they cancel each other out and add humidity to the air. So create a nice little pool in there, and if we wanted to, we can get rid of that pool, which is always pretty fun. We can also just start a crazy fire. I'm not sure.
Is it working? Oh yeah, no, it's definitely working.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
cool.
taking a while.
That is really, really sweet. Oh, and now is that the planet up there? The planet actually looks new as well.
Yeah, it's a little different. It's just a temporary. I just didn't want to see the moon, so I replaced it with a little planet. But it's not done yet.
Are we also going to show off some elementals here?
Yeah, we can.
So I know everyone's very excited about multiplayer, which we'll eventually get to, but we've kind of taken a sort of a step in that direction by creating an adversary that you can fight against. I don't want to give too much away.
Yeah, so one of the things is we're in San Diego now, and I haven't done any weekly updates in a couple of weeks because we've kind of switched gears and are moving in the direction of just taking these 2 weeks to make sure that the game is fun. We think the game is fun already in some ways, but we want to do something a little bit more. We want to create a little bit more of a gameplay loop.
Give you something to do.
Yeah, so something that a little bit more. We want to drive the player to have a good time. The goal is to have someone sit down with it for an hour, someone that's never played it, and feel like they want to continue playing it in terms of like having an objective, apart from just saying like I'm going to make another spell. Like we want you to have something to push you to make those spells, as opposed to just saying like I want to make a crazy spell that'll throw some rocks around. We want to give you a little bit more of a push to say this is why you would make more spells, and you're getting better at creating spells.
And so can you, before we show it off, what's the idea of this loop here? What pushes you?
So we have a couple of ideas for this game mode where you run around on the procedurally generated large map and you have to find certain things. We haven't finalized it yet, but the idea is to have some sort of resource collection and fighting of these elementals, which are randomly generated creatures that we want to feel like puzzles. so that you have to be clever about the way that you approach them. So we have a very, very rudimentary elemental in the game right now. They don't do anything super exciting.
Right. I think you actually started prototyping this like yesterday or today or something, right?
Yeah, it
Been
hasn't.
designing.
There's not too much there just yet, but we can show it off and just kind of talk about what we're thinking with them. So this is the old map. We can still run it. I'm gonna jump in here and.
Is that the dude? Is that a little dude?
Yeah, the thing that looks completely out of place.
Jason
so-
hasn't had a chance to mess with this yet.
So you'll see that if he tracks us, he turns around. He's a little bit wobbly.
Whoa! Did he just shoot a spell at you?
Yeah. So these shoot spells, and they try to hit them with. And they hit us. They can.
Wait, what is the? Is that the? Wait,
Yeah.
what is the croaker doing?
He's trying to get at us. I'm
Oh.
trying to make it hit the croaker so that he'll get off of us.
Oh, that would be awesome. Can you do that? Oh no, he got you. So wait, what spell is he shooting at you here? By the way, I love this idea that something else shoots spells at you. That is very cool.
So right now it's this ridiculous. We have it mapped to a spell in here. Obviously, we'll change this, but
So it's shooting.
it's basically a push spell, only that it once it hits, it rotates and sets it. We could remove this, and then it would just push us. So if it hit us, it would just push us back. Should be kinda cool.
Oh yeah, he got you there.
It's-
The croaker's not open.
I can also cast the elemental push spell. Croaker out of here.
He snuck back up on you.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get rid of this croaker because he's going to a little bit frustrating.
Smooth object.
Oh, super cool. Can you burn him?
Yeah, we can do that. Sure.
Kind of cruel. It is a little cruel.
Yeah, I'm just gonna push him. He doesn't.
He doesn't deserve to burn.
Nope. What is doing? Nope. Well, what just happened?
Croaker is
Alright.
new.
It looks like he's. Yeah.
Well, the croaker's.
Well, there's not enough mana in the spell, and this.
No, I don't think so. I think it's something else that broke with the elemental stuff. 'Cause
So anyway, the
That's
idea
in the
the idea
interaction.
here though is that we want there to be like an adversary that's maybe a little bit more intelligent and clever and trickier to deal with than the croakers.
Yeah, and they won't necessarily always be trickier to deal with than the croakers. Sometimes they'll be
This
stupid.
prototype is hilarious.
So the idea is they have these little shooters that can shoot different spells at you, and then they have a core. This shield will destroy any spells that you create, so if any of your spells touch that shield, they get destroyed.
Oh, so you
hit
beat him just now.
Yeah, so if you hit the core with any spell, it hurts it. But the idea is if we go over here, we can see a little bit of a... There's another one over here somewhere. And they create this kind of procedural enemy where we can swap out the things that it creates on its sides and what spells it shoots at you, and they can get more and more complicated.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard? What's the difficulty level of that last one?
It was not even a 0.
Not even a 0.
So,
Oh,
so
but
this
this
is a
looks
little
cool.
bit more interesting. Like this one has 2 shooters, so we have to be a little bit clever to get behind it. I don't know why it stopped spinning. It's supposed to be spinning.
There it goes.
Sometimes it spins, you know. Sometimes it just doesn't feel like spinning.
So he's got 2 shooters and 2 shields.
Yeah, so the 2 shields protect it, so it's very hard to hit it.
Did he just kill you? Or no, you teleported.
Yeah,
Or
that's
you
a
died.
bug. It's a frustrating bug. For some reason in Unity, when you teleport into a physical object, it decides to add a ridiculous amount of force.
Oh, so it just damages you.
So I just need to account for that. Just
Now, Jason, do you ultimately you're going to make these look very different? I assume. Do you see them as more, or you're envisioning them as more like magical or more mechanical?
They're not mechanical. I think they're kind of like I want them to feel like they were made and they're left over, but they're not machines. They're sort of like just collections of spells gone crazy, and they're left over in the world. So they're hanging out, and you know we're still talking about the different conditions that will create one, like if they're connected to actual elements that appear naturally in the world, or if they're set as guards around valuable things that you might want to get. But they're sort of like these leftovers floating around the world that are pretty dangerous. They don't really have motives or emotions. They're just kind of like things that you need to get rid of and stop. So they should feel kind of creepy and alive, like a weird sentinel kind of thing. But I don't want them to feel like animals either. It's like a fine line between a magical machine and a creature.
Yeah. Cool. And so, what kinds of things might you acquire if you vanquish one?
Well, we could really make it anything. So, we haven't really revealed what you get at all in the game. So, it's kind of like big design decisions about how to control what the player has access to or doesn't have access to. If we want to give you bonuses to different mana or things like that. It's just a way for the player to have something to push back against, and also a way for us to embed things that you might want to get out of it.
There's a lot of flexibility, though, it seems like, because they can shoot really any spell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can they shoot any spell, or just the push spells?
Yeah.
So they can shoot. They could shoot fireballs at you, or create tons of water, or
Yes,
hurl rocks at you. And really, they could do anything you or some other wizard could do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and the idea being that you look at them, you kind of see what types of spells they're throwing, and then you know how you would have to approach them to fight them. It's kind of pick them apart, get through their shields, and destroy the core. So each one is, you would have to approach it differently. Like if it's making a lot of water, if it's throwing a lot of rocks, or it's doing something really dangerous, you have to look out for that. Or you might want to take out the thing that's throwing fire around first, so that you can get close to it.
Right. So
like
really, yeah. So you said it earlier. So really, this is actually a procedurally generated creature. So you could you might come up against one that's like totally different than someone else might come up against, and
that is the hope, that we could make them have a full range of abilities that get mixed and matched, and eventually we'd like for players to be able to make them, and not necessarily have them on their side, but like if you're making a meditation or a game mode and you want something to fight against or something like that.
Now, with both of those, it kind of looked like the strategy was to get behind them and shoot them from behind. Is that always going to be the case?
No, it depends on where. So in this case, there was I don't know if you saw the second one. I pinned the spell parts of it so that I could get behind it so that it could rotate.
Oh no, I missed that. That was too subtle. So you connected a push spell to one of the things that was shooting at you.
I did a pin spell so that it would pin it there, so that it would be harder for it to rotate.
And that's what allowed you to get behind it.
So I got behind it and then I shot it. But
Cool.
we want to play around with that a lot. So we might make the different orb shooters that cast spells spin around, so they get to time stuff, or make it so that opening is on the front of the creature so that it turns and faces you, and then the opening is always in the front. So we want to make it as much randomized as possible. And the idea is that each of the so we haven't decided to finalize any of this, but the idea is that the different orb creator points you can defeat those, and that will remove the shield. So there might be some that are completely covered up, and you have to remove one of the orb shooters by attacking it with a certain type of magic. And then once you do that, then you've created an opening in it that you can attack. So that gives a lot more freedom, like Jason was saying, to make it a sort of puzzle that you have to solve, where you look at it and you say, I'm going to try to approach it from this side. Someone asked about the ability to play with friends and possibly do meditations with them too. So So yeah, some of them would be really interesting if they were incredibly difficult unless you had someone else. To
Oh,
play
yeah,
with, so,
And I will say, like, because I've been since you're in San Diego, I get to actually sit in on a lot of the design conversations, and even though these elementals are not necessarily multiplayer yet, I have noticed that a lot of the conversations we've had have been about multiplayer and about fighting another wizard, because getting there to be an adversary that shoots spells at you forces us to think about the same kinds of questions that you would think about in multiplayer. So we get to iron out a lot of the details before we get there.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you figure out, what does it mean to get damaged? What does it mean to damage another player and things like that?
And which of the elements are best at, damaging you? Which ones are lacking some ability to do that?
Right.
Yeah.
So we get to address some of the balance issues before there's actually any multiplayer game to balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a nice thing to be able to play with and try out, because so far we've just been figuring out how the systems work. So
I like the idea of a co-op multiplayer, though. That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah. I mean that is the ideal. There's a lot of stuff in multiplayer that we still have to iron out. I was talking to some people on the forums, so there's still plenty of stuff that we need to solve to get multiplayer working, but we're trying to transition in that direction while still trying to focus on the September release. So, what's that?
I was looking for the sun
Where's the sun?
behind the clouds, I guess.
That is a cool skybox. Are you happy with that, Jason? Are we gonna stick with it, or?
I think so. I still get to mess with the planet and make things a little more fantastical, but it certainly is lighting everything really nicely. It feels real to me. It feels cool.
Yeah, I like in real life. I just love that moment, like before it starts to rain and everything gets like diffuse and dim.
Yeah.
And I feel like it captures that moment really
Yeah,
well.
like I feel like this is like it's good and cloudy here. It feels like it's getting a little foggy.
Yeah, and actually, it is getting foggy, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
is.
cool.
So it's very humid over here, which is why it's over here.
No,
it's
we're
all-
here. It's real sunny.
That's awesome. Yeah,
And
that's
we have right now we have the sky where when you're in a clear place, the whole sky is clear, and then you shoot over to a cloudy place, and the whole sky is cloudy. And right now we feel like that works the best, but we're gonna play with that transition so that it feels a little more natural too,
right.
and possibly that we can come up with a way where you can look across the map and see it being cloudy somewhere else and understand it a little bit. But that so far has been a really tricky problem to solve, because it's just rendering clouds at a distance and making them look good and making it look like and making them generate because of our systems instead of just a skybox is tricky, because we want everything to be dynamic. So
Well, and a lot of it is also we want this kind of in between a world that feels large, but the systems are manageable so that they're not ridiculously far away.
yeah,
And some of that makes it difficult to say, for instance, if I'm over here and I walk over to an area that I've just made super humid, it might transition to being super humid, but if you looked up, it would be hard to tell if it's cloudy over here and over there, if they were too close together. So there's this difficulty in balancing distances when we're trying to make it so that you can quickly mess with the
between
world,
them. Yeah.
but you also feel like the world is large and has its own things going on. So I think we're converging on that slowly, but I think we're getting to that point. But yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, cool. So procedural worlds. I guess we only looked at one procedural world, but
yeah, and it's not a good example because they're
Is it-
going to look completely different than that one.
Right,
So-
right.
I don't
But the
Yeah.
idea is you get to, anytime you play the game, if you want to, you can change
You can roll,
the
yeah.
environment and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Fire and water, we looked at how they cancel each other out now.
Mhm.
Sweet new sky, new colors, and yeah, I'm super excited to see how the elementals come along.
Yeah.
Hopefully, maybe we'll do some tweets or dev updates as that happens, and then show off the results in 1 month.
Yeah. And we should have something. We'll have more of the elemental stuff solved, and we'll have something cool for September. So by September, we want to have something. We want to have a much more approachable game that has some nice sort of, like we were saying earlier, loop to it.
Yeah, something you sit down and you want to play and keep playing. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. We will see you next month.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.